What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today we are breaking down Eagles versus Bills, top takeaways, and we're going to touch on some Sixers basketball as the Sixers crush the Lakers and we get ready for a post-game here. But just things we have learned about the Sixers over the last week, and just briefly touch on our favorite Sixers trade targets. Joining me, as always, he is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness. What's up, Rob?
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. This is a hell of a time. You know, as I'm watching most of the game last night, I'm thinking, all right, well, we're going to be talking about loss number 2. But, man, this team, the it factor is incredible, and it starts with that guy behind center. It is incredible in every sense of the word. And as frustrating as it could be, we've had a hell of a lot of fun this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. Also joining us, he is Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. What's good, Ryan?
Not much, man. I'm just still reeling from yesterday's game. I was down there. I was cold. I was wet. I was miserable. But luckily, I ended up the night feeling pretty darn good. So, yeah, it was something else.
Yeah, I wasn't in the pouring rain in the monsoon, but at least from my couch, I hit the full range, the full gambit of emotions yesterday, from disappointed, wanting to turn off the game. I'm screaming at my daughter. I'm just pissed off, to just overjoy, up and down throughout the second half. They have a chance. Nope, they don't. We'll get into it. But what a game. And let's jump right in because we only got like 15 minutes. I'll throw it to you, Rob. What was the biggest takeaway from the Eagles win over the Bills?
I think it's just that they have continued to find ways to win no matter how they've played through the first 75% of the game. You know, and look, you've heard it. You've heard the national pundits call it luck. You've heard they're underdogs against the 49. Listen, at some point, luck starts to become skill in a sense and adjustments that this team makes. None of us like the way they're starting. But the one thing all the coaches and all the players have shown the ability to do week in and week out is make adjustments. I mean, Brian Johnson couldn't have called a worse game in the first half, and then he looked like a friggin' genius on some of the calls in the second half. So, I mean, this team is continuing to find ways to win, but it's not like it's like, you know, everyone would say, oh, well, this drop here or this bad throw. That's part of the game, guys. How many games did the Eagles lose for 3 years because of dropped friggin' touchdowns? So I don't want to hear about, oh, that's why. Guess what? If Valdez-Scantling catches a touchdown last week, the Eagles have 1:45 and 3 timeouts. Guess who I'm trusting to run them down to win the game? Jalen Hurts. So I don't want to hear all that. This team has, and I can't believe I'm going to say it because I wanted to punch Tony Romo in the face because I thought he was the worst announcer ever yesterday. But the one thing he said, championship DNA, that's a real thing. This team has it. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they keep doing this, they're going to win something.
Yeah, that championship DNA absolutely trickles down from Jalen Hurts. And we saw it, like, I'm so damn proud. I'm going to get into my takeaways, but like that trickles down into different elements of the football field. Like Jordan Davis running side by side with Josh Allen, giving everything he got and got him to, not, set the edge and not turn the corner and got him out of bounds. Like moments like that, you just feel so proud. Just like this Eagles team lays it on the line every single time. It's not pretty. It's not 4 quarters, but wow. I mean, it's just been something. What about you, Ryan? What was your biggest take?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we say this almost every week that, this team is just winners. That's just what they do. They're just winners. And you always hear the old statement of great teams find a way to win. And that's what they're doing. They are a great team. They're not, playing a full 4 quarters, as you said. And most likely they're not playing that good first half. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts' record when down 10 points or more, undefeated. He doesn't lose. He knows how to come back. I mean, that's something to be said that people just aren't talking about his comeback ability and just his clutchness. I mean, that the second that the Buffalo Bills kicked that field goal in overtime, I knew the game was over. I knew it. Like deep in my soul, I knew that game was over because I knew Jalen Hurts was going to go down that field and score a touchdown. And sure enough, he sure did. And my God, that place in overtime. I've been to so many games in my life, and there was just a humming in that stadium of just I feel like other people felt that same thing, that they just knew that this game was going to be over because of Jalen Hurts. And I love that he's our quarterback. I really do. I love it.
Yep. Yeah. Shout out to Josh Allen, who I thought was superhuman last night. I thought he was making plays with his legs, extending plays all over the place, making big throws and big moments, especially on third downs. But what I love to see from Jalen Hurts was, that improvement in the second half. Jalen Hurts was 14 of 20, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, no picks, a passer rating of 134.8 in the second half, man. That's something we have seen again and again and again from this Eagles team, just bringing the noise in the second half. That was Jalen Hurts' MVP moment when he walked into the end zone in overtime, man. Just a special, special moment. Yeah. And I want to throw also a quick shout out to Brandon Graham, who had a sack on the day he broke the regular season record. That's just a special moment as well, at least for me personally, just smiling. I was happy for him to get that moment as he was pumped up. But let's roll into our next question of the night. Eagles player of the game, Ryan, you lead us off.
Listen, it has to be Jalen Hurts. While so many other people I felt had amazing games, Swift I felt was so, especially in that overtime, was so crucial. Devontae Smith, again, clutch catches. I mean, Zacchaeus with the catch of the the catch of the night, maybe even the year. I mean, beyond. If you think about that, if that catch doesn't happen, the ramifications. But it's got to be Hurts. 5 total touchdowns, 65 on the ground. Like I said, he didn't have the greatest, stat line as far as, especially that first half, but 200 yards passing. Still, absolute was already considered a leading favorite in the MVP vote. You scored 5 touchdowns. You beat Buffalo in overtime. You lead that drive. You score that final touchdown. I mean, he's absolutely the front runner for MVP in my eyes right now, and deserves the player of this game.
I'm kind of pissed off right now because we're getting Paul Reed and Mo Bamba minutes for the Sixers, and we still haven't gotten Paul Reed and Joel Embiid minutes. So we've been wanting it for so long, so I'm just like dying on the inside, not being able to talk about it. Rob, who's your player of the game?
I tell you what, I'm going to go way off the beaten path here, and I'm going to go Jack Driscoll, and this is why.
I like it.
Because the first snap of the game, he gets blown off the ball on a swim move. The rest of the game, he did not allow a pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, in the passing. Here's a guy that didn't find out he was playing until probably 11:30, 12 o'clock. The last time this happened, he got smoked by the Jets. He looked terrible on a very rainy, cold, windy day like this day. And here he goes against really good edge rushers for Buffalo. I mean, those guys can really get to the quarterback. And I thought stepped up, and kind of to what you were saying earlier, Dibes, how these guys just continue to step up. When you think about the Jordan Davis play, when you think about Christian Ellis coming in, having to make a couple plays after Cunningham goes out. But Jack Driscoll was maligned after that Jets game. And for him to come in and not only stand his ground, but play really, really well in that situation. I mean, I'm going to give the guy, some kudos today, because I thought that was huge, especially in the second half when they started that comeback.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm going to go with, just in general, I cheat at these things as always, but I thought some of the tide was turning, the momentum was shifting in the second half with that left side of the offensive line, especially with DeAndre Swift being able to get big chunks of yardage in this one. You look at DeAndre Swift getting going in the second half in overtime, 11 carries, 73 yards, 6.6 yards per carry. He had a reception for 4 yards. That was after just 3 touches in the first half. So I like that we finally got to see the Sixers get the running game going. And that was like my first vibe that we're like, oh shit, like we might be seeing another comeback again from the Eagles, that they're starting to win in the trenches. It wasn't pretty, but that was good to see. I mean, obviously Jake Elliott, as all the guys we mentioned, but yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to that left side of the offensive line, because let's be real, like it's not been consistent, whether it's run blocking or pass protection. So that's where I'm going to go with that. Let's jump into Sixers basketball chat. What have we learned about the Sixers over the past week? Rob, what's your take?
I mean, they're fun. They're flawed. They're not perfect. They're not a finished product, but they're fun and they're good enough to kind of go what we talked about the last time we were on, and that's that wait and see approach. They're gonna hang around. They may have a couple games like they did, against Indiana and Cleveland, but for the most part, they can do what they're doing tonight to teams. I mean, they're winning by 35 points against the Los Angeles Lakers, and I know it's not the greatest team on earth, but LeBron and Anthony Davis were in the lineup tonight. It's not like those guys didn't play, and they just come out, they play as a team. Joel Embiid looks rejuvenated. I feel like, almost like the youth and getting rid. Even though I don't think he wanted to at first, I think even he's seeing that James Harden not being here is actually kind of freeing the air a little bit. They're fun, man. They are really, really enjoyable to watch on a every other night basis.
Yeah, absolutely agree, man. The hustle, the effort, in so many different layers. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. First and foremost, this team is fun. And I think, again, we talked about it a lot, is, the whole James Harden thing, fallout from all of it. But yeah, I feel like they've really kind of pushed past it, and they're really just moving forward. And, the bench, I think is much improved, and I think they've lost a few games, and, Kelly Oubre has been out after his hit and run, whatever happened to him in Philly. Listen, I think when he comes fully back, I think this team will kind of get that spark again and kind of show the reason why they were 8-1. Listen, they still have the ability to improve this team now that they finally have some assets to deal. So, I'm all for it. I think this is definitely a team that could be deep enough to handle a nice run. And like I said, they're fun, and that's half the battle sometimes, honestly.
It's kind of scary how much I have fallen head over heels for Nicholas Batum. I mean, his fit with Embiid, his passing. The Sixers, as you know, don't have guys that know how to throw an entry pass to Embiid. He's a guy that can. And he's a guy that spaces the floor. He plays really good defense for his age. I think he's 35 years old. He's still defending really well, able to keep his man in front of him, fights through screens. Nico Batum has been, oh my gosh, everything we've wanted out of PJ Tucker. And
you know what? I almost look at Nico Batum and think that's almost what we wanted out of like an Al Horford. If you remember when Al Horford came, we wanted that guy that could just be a smart basketball player, help out. And he just obviously never. But this guy is so much better than I think any of us thought.
Yeah.
You would never have told me that after that trade, I would have been all in on Nico Batum at 35 years old. And then you're thinking, my God, you thought he was going to retire with all those personal reasons when he first came over. He is huge for this team right now.
Yeah, it makes me think of like back when before the season started, when we basically had as wing defenders like Daniel House. Now they have a rotation of Nico Batum, Robert Covington, who is playing his ass off, and we have Kelly Oubre coming back. Who, by the way, I didn't watch a lot of Kelly Oubre before coming into Philly. He is the exact opposite of everything I read about, heard about. Like,
Mhm.
apparently he was a black hole in offense, didn't give you anything besides, streaky shooting and scoring. But his energy and defense and transition offense and shot creating has been terrific. So, long story short, like Rob said, wait and see mode. The Sixers should not be jumping into any kind of move, at least until January, which leads us off to our last point of the show. What are some of your favorite trade targets for the Sixers? I'll throw it to you, Ryan. Who is on your short list?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of players that I think that we can add to this team that would be, really helpful in a nice deep playoff run. Person I would love to see is somebody like Zach LaVine. I think he's not only is he a great player, obviously an all-star, and I just think he's also a kind of a fun player to watch, and I think he would fit with that vibe that's going on currently with the Sixers team. So, yeah, I just think adding a talented scorer or shooter, somebody who could drive and really finish with authority, I think would be a nice kind of third option, if you will, or however you want to throw it with Tyrese and Embiid. And if Oubre kind of comes back and is what he was, and with the depth that they have, I think this, along with the rest of the team, I think this could be a potential NBA Finals type team with the Zach LaVine. So that's who I would love personally.
I think from the last week or so, like, you can't help but think how much of a good fit Zach LaVine would be on this roster. I mean, you look across this Sixers roster, you look at Embiid's struggles against Boston, you look at as the Sixers progress and get ready for the playoffs, Embiid's usage, Embiid's offensive output has to go down a little bit. And you look at Maxey, and he's going to have his ups and downs. But having another guy that can create, having another guy that can fit in a Nick Nurse transition offense, there is definitely a lot to it, especially in fourth quarters when it's not all on Maxey, and having another guy that could kind of take over. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be boring, but I know that there's a lot of people out there like, oh, keep Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine fits exactly what you need, right? He's a guy that can be a secondary ball handler, because I do think that I still do believe the Sixers do need that. Like Dive said, I understand how everyone was all about wing defenders, but they seem to have them now, right? They seem to have them in guys like Covington and Batum who can hold his own, and even Kelly Oubre can kind of hold his own out there on the wing. I'd rather get a ball handler or another guy that can score. So on those nights where Tyrese Maxey may be a little bit off, or Joel's just not being Joel, you have another guy who could just light a score sheet up.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Zach LaVine is that guy. I mean, I know that there's, well, what if you get the role players? What if you go Colby White and Alex Caruso? And I get it. Yeah, I'm not going to be like upset if you add guys like that. But to me, you've got the opportunity now, man. Like, if you add Zach LaVine to this team, and I know people say, well, what about defense? But you have that covered. You have that covered right now. You actually have a solid defensive team. So I don't know. To me, I got to agree with Ryan here. I just think LaVine's the guy. And as long as he doesn't move before, the first of the year, I think that's the way you got to roll with it.
Yeah, got to wait and see, and kind of see how that Chicago Bulls season progresses. Alex Caruso is a very interesting player, but given that contract and his value in the market, like, I'm not wasting a first-round pick on Alex Caruso. And then, of course, Lauri Markkanen and OG Anunoby are the two big ones. I would absolutely throw first-round picks at those guys. But I'll throw first-round picks at – let me rephrase that. I would throw first-round picks at Lauri. I think he's the clear fit. He's an underrated athlete, great floor spacer for Embiid, Maxey, and a new three moving forward. OG and that next contract scares the hell out of me. That has the potential to be Tobias Harris 2.0. But you would hope that under Nick Nurse, he could kind of continue that growth from Anunoby offensively. But having another two-way wing to defend the Boston Celtics would be huge. Would be absolutely huge. Let's wrap it up, Rob. Where can we find you? Final thoughts.
Find me at Philly_Madness here at my guys on Party on Broad. Final thoughts. What Jake Elliott did with that kick yesterday was incredible. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. An unsung hero play. Jalen Carter again, the field goal block early in that game makes a huge difference when you talk about a game that ended up having to go to overtime. So kudos to him as well.
Yeah, Jalen Carter was awesome, man. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Rob said, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, honestly. I thought the two of them had an absolutely amazing game, holding the Buffalo run game to under 3 yards a carry, and just made some absolutely fantastic plays. Yeah, it was a fantastic game. It was great to be down there. It was cold and miserable, but still, they came out with a win. It was an iconic thing, something I think I'll remember for a long time. So this is just one of those seasons, man, where we're just winning when we really shouldn't, but we're a great team, and that's why we're winning. But yeah, you can find me right here on the Twitter, on the X at Philly Sports PSA. Throughout the week, doing shows with Dives, Rob, whoever. You just you show me, throw me on. I think somebody said I appear at the local Walmart as well. So I'm all over the place. So yeah, find me, follow me, share it, like it, all that stuff.
Awesome. That wraps it up. He is Rob Lange at Philly_Madness and Ryan at Philly Sports PSA. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back next Monday. For Rob, for Ryan, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.